My name is Colleen and this is my kitchen. I've struggled with my weight my entire life. After trying every diet in the book without any success, I came to the realization that diets don't work. I started my journey at a size 26W weighing just over 300 pounds. In almost a year and a half, I've lost over 120 pounds and I am a size 14. No W. What's my secret? Eating healthy and moving more. Now I'm here to show you how you can cook healthy food without compromising on taste and lose weight just like I have. Because if I can do it, you can too.
Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Tonight I have a really great healthy version of fish and chips for you. We're going to be making a breaded, beer battered, baked tilapia fish stick and some salt and vinegar parsnip chips, and along with that we're making a really delicious roasted garlic and yogurt aioli to dip it in. It's super good and it's also very healthy for you. So it starts by roasting our garlic for our aioli. So what I'm going to do is I just cut off the very tip of it. You can see that I've got the whole bowl of garlic here still in this paper. I'm going to put it in this little dish, oven-proof dish that I have a lid for. I've got my oven preheated to 425. And I'm taking 1 teaspoon of olive oil and drizzling that right over the top of that fold there. And then I'm just going to pop it in my oven for about 20 to 30 minutes until those cloves are really nice and gooey. Our garlic has roasted up nicely, so now we're going to start preparing our salt and vinegar parsnip chips. And so for that I have here 2 parsnips that I've peeled, and you want to make sure when you look for the parsnips that you try to find one that's relatively even down the length. Sometimes when you see the parsnips they've got really big tops and very skinny bottoms. For this particular dish I like to find one that has a little more evenness to it. And so then I have my mandolin slicer. You can do this with your knife as well. I just find it very easy here to do this on a slicer. And I'm going to cut this into 1/4 inch slices. Once I have my parsnips all sliced up here, what I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of marinade to put on them. And I always like to roast things in olive oil because it helps it roast up nicer. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then 1 tablespoon of a nice red wine vinegar. Just going to use a fork or a whisk to mix that up really well. And then pour it over those parsnips that I sliced. And let's toss them up, get them all nice and coated. And I have here a baking sheet that I've already coated with some non-stick cooking spray. And so then what I want to do is just lay these out and get them into as much of a single layer as I can. Parsnips are a really good source of potassium, very high in vitamins, and they have a really great kind of sweet flavor. I really love cooking with them. So if you haven't tried one lately, give it a try. Once I have these here on my baking sheet, I'm going to take a teaspoon of salt, and I'm using a fine sea salt, and just sprinkle that right over the top. A little more salt than I would normally use, but these are really good. So now that I have those together, these take about the same amount of time to bake as the fish does. So I'm going to want to put them in at the same time. So for right now, I'm going to set these aside and we're going to get the fish going, and then we'll put them in at the same time. For my beer batter baked tilapia fish sticks, we have 3 dredging bowls that we're going to be using. The first one, I have a 1/4 cup of all-purpose unbleached flour, and to that I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of dry cultured buttermilk. This is just going to give it a little extra flavor there. And kind of mix that in a little bit. So that's going to be our first dredging bowl. For our second dredging bowl, that's where the beer comes in. Now, I'm using an IPA. I really recommend a light kind of hoppy beer with citrus notes. It goes really, really well with the flavor of this fish. And I'm using just a 1/4 cup, just like that. And then in my last bowl here, I have 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs, which are Japanese-style breadcrumbs. And to that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of dill. It adds just a wonderful flavor to this dish. And it smells absolutely delicious. So once I get that in there, just kind of toss it to coat. And now, let's get our fish. So I'm using 1 pound of tilapia tonight, and tilapia is this nice firm fish, so it works well for fish sticks. It's also extremely low in fat and a very mild fish. And what I'm going to do is take this and just slice it into slices here, so you have like sticks. Once I get that sliced, I arrange my bowls here and my pan, which is sprayed with a nonstick cooking spray, and then I just take a piece of the fish, I roll it in that first bowl, which has the flour and the buttermilk in it, shake the excess off, and then put it in my beer. Again, roll it in there gently, let the excess drip off, and then put it in those panko breadcrumbs. And what this is going to do is it's going to make a really nice and crispy fish stick. Once it's done in there, just lay it on my baking sheet, and then I start the process all over again. Now that I have both my fish sticks and my parsnip chips done, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the oven. I've just left the oven at 425 after we roasted that garlic. And these are going to bake for about 10-15 minutes tops until they're nice and golden brown and the fish is cooked through. While our fish and chips are cooking up, we're going to go ahead and get our aioli ready. And the aioli is just basically, it's a creamy emulsion, kind of like mayonnaise. Traditionally, a lot of people make aioli using mayonnaise as the base. I really like to use a Greek yogurt, a non-fat Greek yogurt, and so that's what I'm putting in here, 1 cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt. And doing that, using that instead of mayonnaise, just cuts out a whole lot of fat. So I'm just adding this into my food processor here. You can also whip this up by hand. I just find it blends much, much better and much finer to a creamier texture in the food processor. So once I have that in there, I'm going to add a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, and what that's going to do is just add a little bit of creaminess to the aioli. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of that same red wine vinegar that I used on the parsnip chips. That's going to just complement the flavors that we already have in the dish. And we have just a pinch of coarse sea salt, Not too much, because remember we put quite a bit of salt on those parsnip chips, so we don't want too much in there. And then some fresh, cracked, ground black pepper. Just like that. And the last thing is that lovely bulb of roasted garlic that we made. It has just cooked up so nice. I love roasting garlic because you get an entirely different flavor. It's very sweet and kind of caramelized, very different from raw garlic, or if you were to say saute it. So what I'm going to do is just take the cloves, and if I just squeeze it there, it comes right out the bottom. You want to make sure not to get any paper in your dish though. And here we go, our baked beer-battered tilapia fish sticks, sea salt and vinegar parsnip chips, and a really lovely roasted garlic and yogurt aioli to dip it all in. I'm going to go sit down and enjoy my dinner. I hope you'll give this recipe a try, and I will see you next time in my kitchen.